Listen, friends, the future is very important. You know, we have done everything that we have done. We have stabilized the economy. We've sorted out our agriculture. We can do more. We've sorted out universal health coverage. We're creating jobs in the space around us, digital jobs, jobs in the housing markets, and all that. But we can do more. We can and must do more. And this is how I see the future. There are three things we must do, beginning now. Three. Number one, we must generate more energy. We do not have enough energy in Kenya. Mumesikia power. Mesikia rafiki yangu mmoja amesema hatuwezi kukaa bila So we need to generate minimum at least 10,000 megawatts of energy. Why? Listen, my good friends. Today we have in our grid 3,300 megawatts. You know, and if you stable, you know, installed capacity is 2,000, maybe 400, 500. On some occasions, we have to do load shedding because our peak sometimes exceeds the energy available. So we have to shut off some areas. That is the wrong thing to do. You can never develop without energy. You can never. So we need to generate 10,000 megawatts of energy. We have geothermal resources, we have wind resources, we have solar energy resources, we have nuclear energy resources, which we must develop. In fact, I've just excused Minister Opio and I because he's meeting one of our investors called Eni from here. Who is working with us in Menengai. We've just given them a facility in Menengai to look at the opportunity to invest in our geothermal resources. So we have to generate 10,000 megawatts of energy at the very minimum. That requires about between 10, 12, maybe $13 billion to do. Number two, we have to escalate our transport infrastructure. You go to any part of Kenya, people are still complaining, barabara hiendi nyumbani bado iko matope. Barabara is a problem. We still have a problem ya barabara. We do not have enough road infrastructure. I remember when we came into office with President Uhuru, we rolled out a 10,000 kilometer road program. We managed to do about 6,000. I am completing another 6,000. But we want to do 28,000 kilometers, new kilometers of tarmac. From independence up to now, we have done 20,000 kilometers of tarmac. I'm just telling Kenyans that it is good we have done 20,000. We are now, I'm completing by end of next year another 6,000, so it will be 26,000. But we need to do another 28,000 kilometers of tarmac in the next 7 years, if we are serious. That is how we are going to cover all those roads that goes to all those villages. I go to any part of Kenya, the biggest problem Kenyans have ni barabara. Sindio? Yes, that's correct. And you see, we have to be deliberate. We cannot be discussing, oh, we are doing 10 kilometers here, we're doing 3 kilometers there, so you do 10 kilometers, 20 kilometers. We just have to be bold and do what I have said. Let me give you an example. In 60 years, we have done 20,000 kilometers of tarmac, which is very good. And for your information, Kenya has the third longest kilometers of paved road in Africa, behind South Africa and Nigeria. We are number 3 with 20,000 kilometers, which is very small, by the way. By comparison, Japan, which is smaller in area than Kenya, has 1 million kilometers of paved road. Do you know that there is a difference between 20,000 and 1 million? And the difference is not small. Sindio? So we are not talking about 1 million. We are saying let's double what we have fast. That requires about 1.6 trillion Kenya shillings. 1.6, 1.8. We have done the mathematics. Hiyo ya energy requires about 1.5 trillion. Mnanielewa? And then we need to do a third thing. We need to move away, not move away. We have exhausted, kind of, the area we have that we can use rain-fed agriculture. We have almost exhausted. As you know, only 15% of Kenya is arid, is arable and has rain. Only 15%. 85% of Kenya is arid and semi-arid. 85%. So we've been feeding ourselves on just 15% of Kenya. It cannot sustain our population, and that is why we continue to be a hungry country. I just want to tell you there are still too many Kenyans who sleep hungry, and it is not right. We still have too many people who don't have enough food, and it is not right. You know, you don't know how dehumanizing it is for somebody to say, Mheshimiwa, mimi niko na njaa. No. It's very helpless. So we have to go into irrigation. That's why we need water storage, water harvesting. And yet, many of those areas in Kenya, they are very fertile. The only thing that is not there is water. And sometimes people confuse rain and water. What we need in northern Kenya is not rain, we need water. You mnanielewa? We need water. So wherever it rains, we should harvest it and make water available in all the other areas. That is what dams, water harvesting, water storage does. It gives us water to use in places where there is no rain. But we have enough rain, but we do not have enough water in those other areas. So we need to harvest the rain and take the water to those areas. So we need to, at least for us to stabilize our food security and create opportunity for us to tap into the export market, we need another 2.5 million acres of irrigation, 2.5 million acres. For us to do, we have estimated, if you speak to my PS Kimoto and my PS Korea, they will tell you we need 50 mega dams, huge dams. Many of you have heard of, so in Koru, you have heard of High Grand Falls Dam, you have heard of Dawa, you have heard of Doshi, yeah, the PS for Water is here, the Minister for Water is here. All those dams, Waziri. So we have enough water. There is still a lot of water that goes into the Indian Ocean. The Indian Ocean does not need any water from Kenya. So we can harvest the whole of it, and the Indian Ocean will continue to be. So this is what we need to do. We need, we've discussed this. All the dams, by the way, they've always been in our books. You know, we know where the dams are. We know that they should be done. But there has to be a mechanism to make them happen. So that requires another almost 2 trillion shillings to do. So that's why I told the people of Kenya, we need 5 trillion to be able to get ourselves to the next level. And people thought I was not normal, but I am. Yes, we need 5 trillion Kenya shillings, and we are going to find it. We are going to do it. Not next year, we are starting this year. Tunaelewana? Yes. So we've started the process of getting the resources to do it. So, and with those three, we do those three, we need another 3 enablers. Number 1, we need science, technology, innovation, number 1. Number 2, we need security. We have to invest in securing our country. And number 3, we need to work on our governance to make sure that we deal with corruption, we deal with patriotism, and we begin to believe in ourselves. We begin to believe in our country. You know, there are so many unpatriotic Kenyans. They talk about Kenya as if they have a spare country. You know? So you demonize Kenya so that you do what? So that you belong where? Who is going to give you their country? You know? So we need to work on the software of all of us. We need to begin to think, you know, about our country in a much more positive way. So we have started the process of raising the money. We need to raise at least 500 billion Kenya shillings. Where are we going to how are we going to raise 500 billion Kenya shillings? You know, and then we can then begin to. So the first thing we did, we have raised 100 billion shillings from the Kenya Pipeline IPO. We already have 100 in the bank. We have the money. And by the way, Kenya Pipeline has not left Kenya. It is still there. It is still buried in the soil, transporting fuel. But we have 100 billion shillings in the bank. We're going to raise another 250 billion in the next few months, maybe 1 month, 2 months. And I have ideas on how to raise the balance. Because somebody must take the right decisions, however tough, for our country. That is why I made the decision that I am not focused on the next election. That is not my focus. I am focused on transforming Kenya, whatever the consequences. That's my focus. I am focused on changing this country, and we will change it. Yes, we are changing Kenya. It's beginning to look different. Give me another 6 months, come to Nairobi, and you will see how Nairobi will have changed. 6 months by December this year. I went and addressed the County Assembly of Nairobi, and I told them some hard truths on how, there are many people who say they came to Kenya, but they actually came to Nairobi. And the impression they have of Kenya is what they saw in. If they saw garbage and dark streets and unpaved roads, that's the idea of what Kenya is. That's why we must reorganize Nairobi. I am putting in 80 billion shillings in Nairobi just to change it so that we can have the correct impression of Nairobi. So that is the future. We are beginning, we're going to have a new airport. We've just advertised for a new airport in Nairobi. We are going to use the money from the Kenya Pipeline IPO. And we'll use only 10 billion out of the 100. Tutaweka 10 billion hapo, tulete watu wengine wakusanye, tuende tufanye hiyo ingine, tujenge nini. Ile kitu inatakikana Kenya ni akili. That's all you need. Ni mnanielewa? Yes. And we are going to tutafanya maneno. Hii Kenya itabadilika hii. So that is how things are. That is the future. We're going to develop new infrastructure. We're going to generate energy. We've already figured out how that is going to. We're going to do dams. We already have 12 identified dams. Eric, with Kimodo, I already have a brief on the first 12 dams, and then we move the country forward. Don't mind about the naysayers and the other people there. They are just talking. They do not have a plan. If you ask them, what is your plan? Ruto must go. How is that a plan? How is it? It is stupid. What is, I'm yet to hear them give us an alternative plan, There is none, You saw the other day when we had this challenge of war in the Middle East. And naturally, prices of oil products would go up. Everybody expected that. Not in Kenya, but everywhere. And then you hear somebody saying, oh, we should go and demonstrate. Really? How will a demonstration bring down the cost of oil products? Honestly, So we have we've done what we have had to do. We've stepped in. We've worked with our partners. We've talked to our suppliers. Luckily for us, we have, what we call a G2G framework that has helped us, stabilize supply, guarantee supply, and make sure that the prices are moderated at any one time. We've also deployed resources around subsidy, and we have stabilized that space. I was speaking yesterday, and many Kenyans ask, why are taxes on fuel higher in Kenya than in our neighbors? Legitimate question. This is the answer. Are taxes on fuel higher in Kenya than our neighbors? Yes. Why? Is the next question, right? It is because we decided as a country that we want to develop more road infrastructure. And that is why we have more road infrastructure. We have more roads, or more paved roads in Kenya. Kenya happens to be the third country with the highest kilometers of paved road. So have the higher taxation regime in Kenya given results? Yes. We are maintaining longer kilometers of tarmac in Kenya. We are building 6,000 kilometers as I talk to you here. In Uganda, from independence up to now, they have done 6,000 kilometers. We are doing 6,000 kilometers now in Kenya. Does that make a difference? You know? So we are a much more, ambitious country. We want to do more. We want to move our country more. That's why, and there's nothing that comes for free. The justification that we should be asking ourselves, are the higher taxes we are paying on fuel translating into outcomes in the road sector? That is the question we should be asking. And I can confidently tell you, yes. With more kilometers of tarmac, we are building more, we are maintaining what we have, and that is what happens in middle-income countries. If you want to compare Kenya, compare us with our peers in the middle-income space.